This is Sexy Funny Raw, where we chat all about the world of sex, from dating and relationships all the way to the adult industry itself. I'm Silvia Saige, and this is my Pornspective, answering all the questions you weren't even brave enough to ask Google. Get ready, because Sexy Funny Raw starts now. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Sexy Funny Raw. I am your host, Silvia Saige, joined of course by my co-host, Dr. Eddie, giving us public health perspectives.
Hello.
And to my right, my very good friend, comedian, writer, actor, Ray Ray. Hello, Ray.
What's
Thank
up?
you for being here. We have a very fun episode this episode. I am so happy we're doing this because I think it's something we really need to talk about, and it's dirty talk. Dirty talk and the psychology of sex. Let's get into it. I feel like dirty talk can go so many ways. It can be a really good thing, and a lot of times I feel like if you're not giving any verbal, like, show of appreciation, that can also really hurt somebody's ego. So you do want to be vocal. You want to give the moans and the yeses and the oh gods and the Jesus, the moments.
God. Oh, yes.
But I think it can get a little scary when you get very specific with the verbiage, right? Like, what does it say? It said that, let me get this statistic correct because I don't want to say it wrong. 1 in 5 people said that they have completely stopped the act of sex because a word has made them feel uncomfortable. And you mentioned it, Ray. It can go the opposite way. It doesn't even mean like maybe she doesn't like what you're calling her. Maybe she's asking to be called something.
I had a girl like early on in a relationship ask me to say something and like that I wasn't comfortable. Like she's like, "Call me your whore. Who's your whore?" And I was like, like, you want me to say it? Like, I had to, like, you? Or, like, you're a whore? Like, I don't know what. Pause, time out, Tio. What do you, I didn't, like, and it was just like, then she was like, oh, just choke me. And I was like, okay, cool, that's fine.
I can do that.
Yeah, I can do that. I love Halloween. No, but yeah, it was, I was, and then we worked it out.
Right.
It's the same one that had me call her daddy. So she was like.
Wait, she called you daddy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait, yeah.
You
yeah,
said
she
call
called me
her
daddy.
Yeah.
That'd be an interesting one, too.
I mean, you never know.
I was like, now I'm thinking about it. I'm like, she was great.
Yeah.
She was great.
Like, look at, see? The positive feedback
Right?
brought
Yeah.
you all these good memories back to life.
I would say that there's a couple of things that we should like lay out first,
Yes,
right?
okay,
So we
first.
should pre-plan a lot of that stuff.
Of course, yeah.
And we should know that it takes practice.
Right.
Not everyone's good right off the bat.
Oh, my God.
And
yeah.
so, when I was in high school, I had friends that had just graduated, so they were ahead of us, and they were doing like the phone sex.
Oh,
lines.
operators.
Yeah.
Oh, like
and so,
they were calling them.
No. They were the operators.
Okay,
So they
gotcha.
were like 19, 20 at that
Wow.
point. And so they were the operators that people were calling. And so we would often sit around and she would talk about the calls that she gets and what people would want to hear and stuff like that. And so I learned early on that it was an important way to be,
Okay.
or at least to have like some experience.
Right.
In it, right. And so like when you're in long distance relationships or when you're traveling a lot, it becomes extra important to be able to like masturbate together and to like share that moment. But not everybody's good at it or into it.
No.
Right. So I've been in relationships where the partner is definitely not into it or excited by it.
Yeah.
And so you try it and then you get shut down and you're like, okay, well, forget that then.
Yeah.
And then other relationships where they're way better at it than you are. And you're like,
You feel almost incompetent, like
I'm
you
like,
have to step your game up.
yeah, totally. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But it also helps to have those conversations, right? We keep always going back to that. But having those conversations and setting those boundaries right off the bat with like language, but then also being open to experimenting, I think, is really important too. Right? Because it doesn't just have to be over a phone long distance. It could be via text messages, even though you should probably get some consent before you start sending people crazy things.
You never know where they're going to be. Yeah.
Right. One, our phones sometimes pop everything up on the screen.
Right.
And so it's a dangerous
You're driving
world.
your car and all of a sudden it's like, this
if
message.
it reads it to you and there's other people in the car.
Yes.
Like, I think technology is dangerous. And we live in a dangerous world. And so consent, prepping, that kind of stuff, that can be very sexy, and it could be like a great intimacy that you share. But it does take practice.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. When I first got into porn, I had no real concept of how to dirty talk. And because in porn, a big part of, especially as the female actor, because it's very much based on me and my, verbiage. And so I'm having to like figure out all these things to say. And my brain was on a loop of like this few things, so it's like, oh yeah, you're going to put that in here. Like I had very few, but you feel like you're almost like, what am I going to say next? What am I going to say next? You're like, I want to be more creative with it, but I only have these 5 sayings
we
that
need like
I know.
A word bank.
Yes.
A word bank where you're like, put your tongue in my ear and then my toe.
You're doing like basic improv, like yes and. You're yes anding the pussy. That's awesome.
No, but also what you just said about put your tongue into this, that's a big part of dirty talk. And that's what I learned is
Definitely.
like literally just talk through what you actually want, you know, like kiss me here or touch me there.
Definitely.
Just simply saying the things you're looking for from your partner is a huge part of like the verbiage you should be using,
That goes to consent, like back to consent. About,
yeah.
Like, people don't know what to say. They don't like,
right.
And for like, I don't know if it's like for all guys, but like for me, it's intimidating. It really is. It can be intimidating depending on the person that you're with.
Yeah, 100%.
Especially if they know more and they're saying like more stuff that like really turns you on. In my mind, I'm also thinking like, who taught her that? Like where? This is awesome. But like, where did you learn that?
Remember in the old days, like Playboy used to have articles and people would write.
Oh yeah, that's why I had those.
And that's why everybody would be like, oh, I would look at it for the articles. Well, in said articles, as boys, a bunch of us would read them all the time, right? You get it for other reasons as well, right?
Right.
But if you would read those stories, a lot of those stories would often give you language. Yeah. Right? And so it depends on, like, where you want to do your research. I've been a researcher since I was a young boy, apparently.
Yeah. And a big one for, especially in porn, and I've realized how much it really does affect things, is saying aloud when you're going to come. Saying like, oh my God, like that feels so amazing. I'm going to come from that. And I think that's a big one, just being vocal about the actual orgasm that you're about to have for both men and women.
Are you really, really quick to like let them know like I'm gonna come right now, or like is it like?
For me, it's like I know right when it's coming, like I can feel the build up to it, and I'll be like, oh my God, that right there. Because also you want to say like, please don't stop doing that. That's, I think, a big thing that everyone does in sex. You're like, have we been in this position for too long? Is this boring? Maybe I should move somewhere else. But for a lot of times for women, we need that constant repetition. So I will tell you, I'm about to come, so you don't stop what you're doing at this exact moment, because this is the thing that's working.
It happens to guys too, I'd say.
I like to be polite, just give her the options. I'm about to come, and then it's like, well, where would you like it? You know what I mean?
Well, that too. That conversation, where would you like it to be? And funny because I feel like that conversation always happens right before, that's I've never had the conversation, well, except for in porn, where are we going to come? I always know like cum shot's going to be, where it's going to be, face or tits or whatever. But usually in sex.
6 seconds.
Yeah. But outside of porn, that conversation isn't until, you're right, the guy's like, I'm about to come. And then he's like, where do you want it?
It's funny how like women can decide that moment, but they can't pick where to eat. Like, you know what I mean? Like I just thought about that. Right? They like know exactly where they want it. But then it's like, what do you want to have for dinner? You want chicken or steak? That's figure that out. Someone figure that one out.
Well, because I think for me especially, like, I know that it's weird, but I know that coming on the face is like a big turn on for men. So if I'm really like trying to please the person I'm with, I'm like, okay, you can come on my face. But for me, it's like a convenience thing more than anything. I'm like, hit it right here, like just a good, like a good open area, easy cleanup. You don't want to get it in my hair, or ruin my makeup. Those things.
I like when like you've been in like a good relationship and they like know when you're gonna come, like about to come, and then they just take charge. They don't even give a shit. Like they know you're about to finish, because they should by that point,
Because you're telepaths.
Yeah. And then it's like I'm about to, and she knows exactly where it's gonna go. Like that's wifey right there. I put a ring on that once.
But I'm not going to go there.
Yeah.
I know too many things. So I'm just going to step politely away from that conversation. Okay. All right. So obviously some of the things that can turn you away from sex and some of the things that have probably the people who have ended sex, and walked away from it are some of the nicknames that you call people in sex. Of course, daddy is a crowd favorite that you hear a lot in sex. Dr. Eddie, you're shaking your head because I think in the gay community, it comes with an age thing, right? So,
yeah,
and at one point you become daddy to a lot of people, so it and that you've said it can make you uncomfortable, right?
Yeah, I hate it.
I don't want to be called mommy in bed either.
I think it's weird.
Yeah, and a lot of men, because I do play a MILF on TV, they're like, oh, mommy, and I'm like, absolutely not. Absolutely not. We're not going there. No, that's the role I play.
That's a different film.
yeah. Not here today. Absolutely not.
Yeah.
But I think it also goes into, being called slut or whore or things like that. And I mean, me personally, I am a professional whore. I have sex for money. But if you call me a whore when we're having sex, sex is over. That is a word I just don't like because I think it's very degrading to women in general. I just think it's a degrading term, the word slut or the word whore. So I don't want it during sex, even though I might physically be one.
I think it's really different.
I don't want it.
It's really different per person.
Yeah.
And so having those things kind of already set up.
Right.
You had said that you guys do that in the adult film industry.
Yes.
And so like many things, if we followed that as the standard, everything kind of gets laid out ahead of time.
Yeah.
I can see on the opposite end, people might feel that there's no spontaneity involved. But I think you can still have spontaneity, but have some ground rules.
Right.
I think to have better, safer engagements. Sure.
Yeah. And I mean, it might just come down to the conversation being when you're in the middle of sex, and hopefully that doesn't offend them to the point that it like ends the relationship. But maybe you can be like, look, that's not my thing, completely turned me off, and I feel like it's way different for men than it is for women, because I feel like your erection is based so much on mental that it can really stop it when things mentally go awry for you.
Definitely.
I feel like as a woman, I can recover pretty quick and just be like, nah, not my style. But keep going.
You can go pretty fast and pretty quick with the wrong thing is said, for sure.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Or even like, I mean, I've had it happen to me several times where like my phone will ring and I'll look at it and I'm like, oh, fuck, it's my mom. Like that like ruins it, like, let me get this really quick. She's just going to keep calling.
That's like the first time I ever had sex. My mom was calling me on my phone at the girl's apartment, and it like took me out of it mentally so much.
Sure.
Yeah. Sorry, Lindsay. That was 20 years ago, 30 years ago. It's fine.
Yeah, but so many things can just stop it in its tracks. Yeah.
Sure.
And so definitely try and have the conversations. Try and maybe not have them live as they're happening, because like I said, it could really ruin the situation. But have those conversations. Like, you can even say, are you into dirty talk? Is that something that you're into? And what are some of your yeses and some of your nos? And, what type of things are good for you and are going to get you off? Because obviously we know the more pregame you spend and the more arousal time you spend, the better the sex is going to be.
For everybody.
Yeah, for everybody. Sex is, it's a long game, guys. It's a long game.
It's chess. For sure.
Yeah. So let's not forget that there's definitely sexual anxiety that people suffer from as well. And that can come from everything of like, maybe you don't feel sexy. You don't feel like you can keep up with this partner, or so many different ways of anxiety playing into sex,
Definitely. I mean, even to build off of the dirty talk conversation, right? So one can lead into another.
Okay.
And so if we're not having those conversations and we're saying the wrong thing and we're still engaging in those like encounters after the fact, if we're thinking about it, it can cause anxiety. It could cause you to not want to engage in it again. It could cause you like all of these things. It's more complex than that one moment, right?
Right.
And so sexual anxiety comes from a lot of different areas.
Or even past traumas.
definitely past traumas.
Yeah.
How you feel about your body,
Right.
if your body's changing, how you feel about it right now, which could be different than you felt about it last week.
Yeah.
If you're even been gender affirmed, like
Yeah.
all of those things are going to be incredibly relevant to sexual anxiety. And so how to deal with that, there's a variety of different kind of approaches, right? And so
Yeah.
talking to people usually helps. And so I'm not a therapist, and I
Right.
strongly encourage everyone to have one if
Right.
you're lucky enough to have insurance and all of those things. What do you do if you don't have insurance? That's a whole other kind of bag of worms.
You mentioned the body image thing. I do have a friend of mine who hasn't really had sex in a long time because he gained a significant amount of weight and doesn't feel like he is able to give himself to anyone because he doesn't feel like a gift, I guess. You know, he feels like he's almost like I don't even know. I don't know what words to use, but just doesn't feel sexy and doesn't feel like he's a prize to be had, you know? So
Sure.
he's really just backed away from sex in general. And it's super sad, but like there is just a mental game there. And he was once a much fitter man, you know? Yeah.
I mean, but fitness doesn't have to equate to a happy,
no,
fun
it
sex
absolutely
life. And
doesn't.
so
Yeah.
a lot of that is wrapped up in your friend's kind of
Mental game.
Yeah.
100%.
I mean, and he's not alone.
Oh, yeah.
We all
Oh,
have
yeah.
it at different
Yeah.
points for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, I have it on a regular basis because I have to be like naked next to 18-year-olds all the time, you know? So I'm constantly like conscious about my body and the
And
things.
that's something people don't think about. Like, you really do have to be like porn
Yes.
dudes are jacked. Like,
Well, I
So-
mean,
yeah.
not most, but not
yeah,
all.
so, but like,
Yeah.
and they're younger, and it's
Yeah.
because like you said
You're comparing yourself to that, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
It's like, and guys do the same thing. You know what I mean? Like, and it's like, so I'm chubby sexy. I know what I look like with a six pack. I
Yeah.
know what I don't. I embrace this chubby sexiness.
Right.
And I
But
think
you're
that
confident
also-
with it.
I think that's how I get laid. Is that it comes off as like
Your confidence.
Yeah, confidence. To an extent. And I can see where he's at, where it it could eat away at you, especially
Yeah.
if he was a fit person.
Right. Yeah.
So
And you know, it could be anything. It's not even necessarily that you're not like healthy any longer. He had some thyroid issues, so the weight was like
it's not even his fault,
involuntary.
too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, a lot of the times it's not always the people's fault if they gain weight.
Well,
either,
right.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, what you can do is really maybe talk to people about it.
Yeah.
I think it makes a
Absolutely.
difference. And if you're going into relationships, I think there's someone for everybody.
Yeah.
Right. And so we're lucky enough to live in a world where there's a lot of people.
Yes.
And so things are going to change. We're all getting older.
Yep.
We're not going to be 20 anymore. You know, you might have abs. They're
Yeah.
going to be gone at some
Yeah.
point or another.
Yeah.
But a lot of people do compare themselves to the adult film industry.
Oh, absolutely.
Not just
yeah.
when it comes to things like penis size or multiple orgasms or the size of your load. or
sex
whatever the case-
positions or
Right.
whatever. Yeah.
All of those things really, they're so great. Like the adult film industry is so great in a bunch of ways and then so bad in a bunch of ways for what it does to body image and what it does to women
Yeah.
and stuff like that. It's like recreating some of the bad.
Yeah.
And so I'm always fascinated, and I have this conversation all the time
Yeah.
at the way the algorithms show more of specific types. So lately there's like a trend, or the peers. So I hear,
Yeah.
I read somewhere that there's a trend about like daddy, like the stepmoms and all of this thing, you and Cherie,
Yes.
you know, like you're all famous for that type of
Yeah.
stuff. And so why is that so popular? And so there's some theories behind it where people are like, well, if you don't want to leave your house and you don't want to have to do any work, then
This
your
person
stepmom
is here.
walks into your bedroom. I think it's super interesting like
Oh, right.
the
Yeah.
psychology behind the possibility of it.
Well, and too, and I think this is a big part of it, is it's because this woman is coming on to you and you become this like, oh, I mean, I don't need it or want it, but this is what she wants, you know? So it's almost like, because as my position is in a porn is I'm always the aggressor. So I think it's that too, of like, this woman is like coming on to you, I'm coming cougar style and I'm coming hard, you know? So I think that's a big part of it, because the alternative to that is like you have to pursue this younger woman and you've got to, you know, pull out all these stops and play all these games to hopefully get laid by her, as opposed to my character is the one pursuing you. I think that's a big part of it too.
Sure.
But you're right. In the home, that's a stepbrother,
Everybody wants to be
stepsister
wanted,
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, 110%. I actually read an article the other day that I was really appreciative that I read it because the title alone got me, and it was like how to fuck like a porn star, and I was like, interesting. What are they saying? But a big part of it was make them feel desirable.
Yeah.
It was, make out with their dick, and like suck your dick like you miss that fucking dick, like just make them feel really desirable, and that's a big part of it. That's what porn does to people, is it makes them feel wanted and it makes them feel desired, and that's a huge part. That's how you fuck like a porn star. You just got to really get in it. Really got to sell it. Yeah. Got to sell those orgasms. You got to sell the fact that I'm coming on to you. You just got to give it all. But all while doing so, do it respectfully. Make sure that everyone is okay with the verbiage and the language that we're going to be using. And, keep it happy. Keep it healthy. Keep it fun. Dr. Eddie, anything else you would like to add?
No, I think we're good.
We're good there. All right. Well, that's going to wrap it up for today. Ray, why don't you tell the people where they can find you?
You can find me on Instagram at Ray's Reality, RaysReality, or just type me into any search engine.
I love it. Even Pornhub. Search him. Go look for it.
You know what? I wonder. I'm gonna do that when we leave.
See if you're in there?
Yeah, surprising. It's out there somewhere. It's gotta be. I was in a fraternity.
The videos? You made the videos. Yeah. They're out there.
They're out there for sure.
Back then, they were on VHS.
They haven't transferred.
Mini DV. They were on mini DV back then.
I don't even know what mini DV is.
Oh, it's like the little. I'm not gonna go tell you.
All right, Dr. Eddie, thank you so much for all of your public health information. We really appreciate you and everything that you do. And that was it, guys. So if you like what you saw today, you can just hit that little click subscribe button. And until next time, adios.